The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is Free Kicks. Adam, we're back. Are you excited?
I am pumped. I'm pumped for this. As you noted, the 7th season could be the best season ever.
The 7th season of Free Kicks with Adam and Rick is very exciting. So we've got a lot to cover. We're in the soccer mood. We never left it. I went to Berlin. I watched a couple of European Cup games. It was just amazing to be there in the atmosphere. You were over in Europe as well.
Yes, I was. It was more of a cruise, not so much a soccer holiday, but got to see some different things, got to watch some soccer with some soccer people, so that was always fun.
And in America here, the Copa was going on. My son and his friends, they drove to Kansas City to watch USA against Uruguay, which, could have ended better. But
yeah.
The point is, there was so much soccer going on, we never got out of the soccer spirit, so we are ready to rock, aren't we?
We certainly are.
All right, it's time for Free Kicks.
And now, Free Kicks. Free Kicks with Illinois Youth Soccer Association's Director of Coaching, Adam Howarth, and Rick Kemper.
So in this episode, we usually talk about the Premier League, but I want to just talk about one thing before we get started here, and that's news that came out the other day. We have a new coach for the U.S. men's national team. You want to talk about that a little bit?
It's not official, although today we may get some official notice. Supposedly, there's an agreement in place between Mauricio Pochettino, former Chelsea manager, who I know very well from my watching of Chelsea this past year, and U.S. soccer. So we shall see. So probably by the time this goes live, or goes out, I shouldn't say goes live, but goes out, we may have official word from U.S. soccer that we have a new coach.
That's huge news.
It is big news. Big news.
That is the most famous and well-regarded coach that the United States has ever had.
Do you think so?
Yeah, who would be higher? Klinsmann?
Klinsmann? I mean, he certainly had some pretty good level, although from a management standpoint, maybe not quite as high.
Right, I mean, as a player, maybe, yes.
As a player, for sure. But player, he was awesome, yeah. But, I think what I like about this potential hire, fingers crossed everything goes through, is that he can relate to so many different groups, right? So he speaks Spanish, so that's going to help in terms of create a buzz around the Hispanic population, as well as obviously his ability to build. You've seen that with all of the teams he's done, and even with Chelsea last year at the tail end of the season. If we would have just played half a year, Rick, we would have finished 4th.
I know.
That's it.
I know. And I still, we'll get into this, but I still can't believe they let him go, because I think he had just figured it out. But anyway.
I know.
That's another story. All right. So we'll find out more about Pochettino's potential coaching of the United States men's soccer team.
Hopefully hopefully we can confirm in the next week or so, but it's there. It's floating around there. They just got to make sure everything's good.
Okay, so the opening weekend of the Premier League was last weekend, and we can talk about some of the games, but I want to talk before we do that about the new players that have come into these teams, because when you're flipping through them, you're like, hey, where's such and such? Or, oh, who's this guy? Let's go over a couple of them. I've just picked a few of them here. Arsenal has a new center back, and his name is Riccardo Calafiori. What do you know about Riccardo?
Not a huge amount, to be fair. I think he's the type of player that I can play in a couple positions for Arsenal, and which has also got a solid back line anyway.
They do.
And that was the interesting thing with Calafiori in terms of him obviously coming from Italy, in terms of what he can do. But I just think he's a younger player. If I remember, I think he is left-footed, if I remember off the top of my head. So
yes, he is.
He has that ability to play left back, which I think is an area that I think can definitely obviously strengthen the group with Ben White on the other outside. You've got probably arguably the two best centre backs in the league, and Saliba and Gabriel. I mean, they just got better. There's no question. Arsenal's defence got definitely better.
Yeah.
So he's definitely going to add a lot to them. He did not play this past weekend, though, which was a bit frustrating because I picked him to play in my fantasy team. So, come on, you better start playing.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, actually. He probably will be the left back. That certainly makes sense. He comes from Bologna. All right, so Chelsea also has a new player, a teenager. They say he's a pure striker. They got him from Barcelona. Tell me about the new player, which I am not 100% sure how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, I think I've pronounced it a few times as well. So Gui, I believe, is what I'm going to go with. So
Gui, I like that.
Yeah, Gui is probably the best way to do it. But from Spain, Spanish teenager, very well regarded in Barcelona. Was a bit surprised that he made the big transfer over, but I can tell you probably the money probably was a big part of it.
Yeah.
He is a true number 9, strong. He's only I think 19.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty young.
I think he's 18 actually.
18.
Yeah.
Okay, so he, no matter how you look at it, he's extremely young. Yeah, he's 18. So he just turned 18 in January. So he hasn't played much. Hasn't really played much for the Barcelona's first team, so it's a little bit of a gamble. But what's Chelsea gambling on a few players here and there? It's not a big deal. So
what's $1 billion here, $1 billion there? That's Chelsea kind of throws money around.
Yeah, but I mean, so we'll see. I did see him play. I did get to watch Chelsea play this summer when they played at Notre Dame, which was great. He played a good chunk of that game. And I think he's going to definitely help us, especially when I look at what I saw this past weekend from our striker situation.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely, by the next few weeks, I think you're going to see him kind of being rotated in a little bit more.
At the very least, you can have him sit down with Nicholas Jackson and explain to him the offsides rule, because apparently he just does not understand it.
Yeah, offside seems to be a situation, and just maybe show him where the goal is. This is the goal.
See the thing with the nets? That's where you want to shoot it.
That's a discussion.
All right. Crystal Palace has a new player also. I happen to know this kid, not a kid anymore, but Dachi Kamada, who played for Eintracht Frankfurt. And the coach of Crystal Palace is also a former Eintracht Frankfurt coach, the one that won the Euro Cup for them, or the European Championship, or whatever you want to call it. But he comes now from Lazio, and I think Crystal Palace can use him up front. What do you think? Oh,
definitely. Japanese player. I think he's going to be a bit of an impact for them. He's a little older.
Yeah.
28, so he's been around the block a little bit. So I think it's a really good signing. Obviously, was successful with Frankfurt. I think that was the year that Frankfurt got to the final, I think, of the Europa League. So he had a good little run with them. So I think he's the type of player that will have an impact. And I think it only cost like $3 million, so it was a heck of a deal. So I think he's the type of player that could definitely impact Crystal Palace for sure.
Agreed. Manchester City, they lost a few guys, but they also, as always, brought in somebody new. And I watched them play against Chelsea. Savinho comes in, his 20-year-old Brazilian. He looked fantastic, but he also got hurt in the very first game. So
yeah, this guy's going to be a bit of an impact. I can tell he might be the type of player people want to pick up. But like you said, He's unfortunately got injured in that first game, so we're not sure of the status of where he's at. And it's going to make it also even more difficult for players like Phil Foden to come in and play considerably. Jack Grealish, and you've got Doku on the other side. I mean, it's Man City. They just reload with their players.
Yeah, they do.
So he played 7 times for the Brazilian national team. He's just going to be really good. There's no question about it. He's going to be
smooth.
Really good.
He's so smooth on the ball. It was just
and he's 20 years old. There you go. So what a future ahead of him.
All right. Manchester United had a couple of players. They raided Bayern Munich's defense because it turns out that they had remember the last game? What did they have, like Casemiro playing in the back and Johnny Evans, and I think I played for about 18 minutes.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
They needed some center backs. They got Mazraoui from Bayern Munich, who is a right back from Morocco. They got Matthias de Ligt, also from Bayern Munich, who is a center back. And then they got Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna, who also used to be at Bayern Munich. And all of those guys at one point or another played for Ten Hag in Holland. As we signed off last year, you and I were kind of wondering if Ten Hag was even going to be around. But not only is he around, they're letting him reshape this team in his own image.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that we were all surprised about. He'd be back. I think winning the FA Cup kind of gave him another year. Again, He's only got another year on his contract. Although there's been some changes in the back room. So Steve McLaren has left, and Ruud van Nistelrooy, if you remember, the fantastic striker, is now the assistant with Erik ten Hag. Another guy from, obviously, the Netherlands. So Seems like he's keeping it close. Certainly he understands the players that he's got in front of him. They needed help in the back. They've obviously added that. There's also talk of Everton's Jared Branthwaite is another player that they're looking at. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's a player that comes in before it. But they needed help in the centre back. De Ligt obviously could definitely do that. So I think that's going to be a good signing for them. And we'll see how they do. See how he gets used to it, because we've seen it before that players come in from other leagues and kind of struggle. But,
that's true.
We'll see. But I did after watching. I thought Martinez played really well. Lisandro Martinez the other day.
Yes,
I was really kind of unsure of him because he's a little smaller of a centre back. Not that size has a big matter, but
it does matter in the Premier League, and he gets hurt a lot because he's small, right? Mm-hmm. But he when good. He's in there, he's good.
Yeah, he looked really good. I can see what all the hype was finally about it. Right. And and Luke Shaw was injured, which was surprising. So never mind.
Yeah, Luke Shaw and Reece James both injured. What the? So also let's talk about West Ham because West Ham has a new striker. He didn't start this first game, but I think we're going to be seeing quite a bit of him, and that is Niklas Füllkrug from Dortmund, who was one of the stars of the German team. The German national team. In fact, he scored the goal that took him into the next round. He's a pure striker. This guy is you want a head ball goal, you put him in. So even if he doesn't start every game, he's going to be playing a lot.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree with you. Yeah, he's the type of player that was coming off the bench at the Euros and was causing teams all sorts of problems. He's definitely going to be an impact. I know that they were in for a lot of different centre forwards, and so he was the one that they came up with. And to be fair, I think they've done a pretty nice job of the recruitment standpoint. Lopetegui's got the players he feels they can definitely help him. Obviously, utilizing different areas, different groups of different teams. So I think they've recruited well. And I think they're the type of team that can definitely have an impact. They've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well, who just came over from Manchester United. So that's going to help them. And I believe there was another set of... I know they were looking at another player. I can't remember who it was, who was quite a big impact as well. But they've recruited well in terms of the players that they've got. And I certainly think they could have a really good season if they can figure things out a little bit. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. A couple of longtime Premier League players are no longer in the league. Thiago Silva left Chelsea. I saw him say that he was only going to come for 1 year, but ended up staying for 4. Did you know that his sons are in the program?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you did.
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, yeah, you knew that. Joel Matip, one of my favorite players at Liverpool, is gone. You know, he was a pretty solid partner there in the back with Van Dijk until he got hurt, but he's gone. Anthony Martial and Rafael Varane from Manchester United are both gone. I think Julian Alvarez, didn't he also leave Manchester City? Did I see that?
Yes, he did. So he went over to Atletico Madrid, I believe. So big transfer there in terms of money. Atletico Madrid paid a lot of money for some of the players, and is still waiting for confirmation. But there's a good chance that Conor Gallagher from Chelsea will be heading over there as well. So I think Atletico Madrid could be a pretty good team to watch this year in terms of putting some pressure on Real Madrid and Barcelona. So they could definitely be up there in the league.
Okay. One more thing we want to discuss here are some of the new managers. We've got Arne Slot at Liverpool has already won his first game. Your thoughts about the new coach of Chelsea?
Yeah, it's hard to really say too much yet. 1 game in, 1 loss. Pre-season was very rough in terms of results, conceding a lot of goals. Attacking-wise, I think they look okay, but they've always looked decent with the ball, which is probably expected because they got a lot of players that can do things with the ball. But ultimately, I think...
By the way, I heard that they had 56 players that they could play at any time. They can call up.
Of course.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
56.
Yeah, I think you're going to see on a daily basis up until the end of the transfer window players leaving at some point because there's just no way that they can keep all of these players. So I think you're going to find lots of players in and out. Like I said, the first one being Conor Gallagher, who's finally going to get that move. It looks like things have worked out because Chelsea signed another player. So, Felix is coming in now. So they just signed him. So, it's we'll see. I'm always going to look at it from a positive standpoint, but sometimes I wonder what's happening. So,
all right. There's a new coach at Brighton also. He's only 31 years old, the youngest ever coach in the Premier League, Fabian Hetzeler.
I think a great start. Won convincingly away. First game 3-0. This was I heard this. Rebecca Lowe said this on the Premier League, and this was a great statistic, and she even mentioned this. So I've got to give her credit for this. She mentioned that James Milner was he was the new manager of Brighton. Fabian Hetzeler was 9 years old when James Milner played his first game.
Wow, is James Milner still playing?
He's at Brighton.
That's still the funny thing. There.
He's still there.
Unbelievable.
Yes. One of the fittest players ever to play in the Premier League. A guy who just does not stop. Yes, he is there. And just quietly, they are top of the table, by the way.
Yeah.
Not that it really means anything after 1 game, but James Milner is there. He's playing. He's there. Age 38. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a few games this year. So he's not going to play every game, but he's going to get a few. Yeah, that's for sure.
That's great. So, our predictions aren't coming for a few weeks until after the transfer window closes. I think we've learned our lesson on that.
We're the smartest podcast around because all these, and I'll use the fantastic term, numpties, who predict everything. But what they do is they pick all these and then all of a sudden, this guy's gone. That's changed. It's all of these types of things that happen because in the next week and a half, you're going to see all kinds of crazy transfers. So I think this is the best time to just sit, relax. Let's see what happens. Let's see what takes place. Then we make our predictions after a few games and everything's calmed down.
Well, yes.
I already know. Yeah, exactly. I kind of have an idea already, but you never know. Ipswich Town might sign the best young player ever.
Yeah,
that might help them. You never know.
Yeah, that would help them. I saw that BBC. The BBC did do their predictions, and they're boring, right? They've got the same first four as last year in the same order.
Yeah.
They've got the three new teams all going back down again. It's boring. I seriously doubt both of those things are going to happen, and we are going to have slightly different predictions. That is pretty much a guarantee for you.
Yeah.
All right. Free Kicks is brought to you by the Illinois Youth Soccer Association.
All right. Illinois Youth Soccer has been proudly serving the soccer community since 1975 and has a strong history of credibility. Illinois Youth Soccer is one of Illinois' largest youth sports organizations with approximately 95,000 players, coaches, and referees. Illinois Youth Soccer is a non-profit corporation, administers U.S. Soccer Federation coaching programs, the Olympic Development Program, opening September 1st for registration, and administers U.S. Soccer Federation referee programs. For more information, go to illinoisyouthsoccer.org.
Okay, I know you missed this.
Time now to guess the Premier League star.
Okay.
I'm a bit nervous because there's so many stars that are new, and it's going to be a nightmare. Well, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
Are they a star yet? That's the biggest thing. You're going to label a star after one game? I don't know. Well, I don't know where you're going to go with this.
See, the beauty of it is it's I get to decide. So there's nothing you can do about it. All right, this week's Premier League star is 32 years old. So he's been around.
Okay, that's good.
He grew up.
Has he been around the Premier League for a while?
We'll find out. He grew up in the Wolves Academy program. All right, but he does not play for the Wolves. All right,
okay.
He's not Wolverhampton. He plays for a national team, but that team is not England.
Okay.
His national team teammate is Mo Salah.
Okay, all right.
So that will really narrow it down.
So would it be fair to say he's playing with Manchester United?
Nope. He is the captain of his Premier League team, despite only playing one game in the Premier League so far.
He's captain of his Premier League team after playing one game.
Yep.
And he's a teammate of Mo Salah on the national team, on their national teams.
Exactly. And he's only played one game in the Premier League. And he's the captain of that team. Now, I'll grant you that 2 years ago, his team was in League One.
Okay, gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
See what I did there? So, wasn't that nice?
Yes. Yeah, that was a huge clue because that helps considerably. But and I don't necessarily know a huge amount about him, to be fair, but would this player be Sam Morsy?
Yes, it would be. Very good.
So you're calling Sam Morsy. I just want to make sure I'm clear with this. Sam Morsy, a Premier League star, who
he's the captain of his team. He's the captain of his team. How can he not be a star?
Right. I think we need to rethink this whole situation because this is ridiculous.
All right, it's time for my favorite part of the show.
Now time for Adam's Weekend Soccer TV Tip.
So we have the Premier League back in action, and lots of games coming up. matches, as we call them? What would you?
Yeah.
What are you recommending?
Yeah. Well, there's so many games out there, as you call them. But I like to go watch matches, because that's what it's all about. Uh-huh. So for me, the first weekend was great. It was just lots of games. Obviously, disappointment on my end as a Chelsea fan.
And on my end, as a Liverpool fan, because the game was at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah,
you did. I even got up for that one. That's my commitment. That's my commitment to this show, to this program, to everything that we do. I'm willing to take that and watch those games. So it's just the way it is. But ultimately, I think for me, the biggest game, and they had a great start. Both teams had a good start, and our good friend, the Villa fan, our famous listener, I think is going to be really happy with me picking this game of the week. It's got to be 11:30 Saturday. It's going to be early for him, 9:30 in the morning, but that's okay. I think he can handle it. Aston Villa at home, the Villains against Arsenal. I think that's going to be good. Now, the interesting thing is the goal scorer for Aston Villa does have a Chicago connection. Do you remember what that Chicago connection might be?
No.
So John Duran, who scored the winning goal for Aston Villa, was playing with the Chicago Fire just a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Yes. So, and they sold him for $10 million. Interestingly enough, West Ham, even though they got our German friend, I hate to say it, I'm going to mispronounce it,
Füllkrug. Yeah.
So they were very heavily into trying to get John Duran, so he was kind of their play. But Aston Villa said no, they wanted to keep him. So give him credit, and it worked out. And it was kind of a tough one because he scored the winner against West Ham in the last game too.
Yeah.
But that's my game. I think it's going to be a good one. Arsenal looks like they haven't skipped they just keep on going. Missed a beat from last year. I think they're going to be a serious contender with Manchester City. Well, it looks like we've got two of our picks in already. But yeah, I think that'll be a good game to watch for sure. And it's at Villa Park, so it's a great place to watch. Yeah.
All right, and that Villa team is fun to watch these days. They're loaded. All right, Free Kicks is brought to you by Green White Soccer Club. We have been around now for 68 years. We have 20 youth teams. We have several adult teams. If you want to find out what else we have, you can go to greenwhitesoccer.org. All right, we have people to thank as we enter here into our 7th season of Free Kicks. We need to thank our executive producer, Tony Lasana, with Opie Shows. Thank you, Tony. Also, Ed Silla with Radio Misfits. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It's just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com. And we'll be back again next week because we're back in the saddle. We'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of Free Kicks.
The proceeding was a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. Find our other great shows on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at RadioMisfits.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?